At a recent diecast show, I noticed a lot of different vendors selling mainline Hot Wheels error cars. None were over the top expensive, but all were more than what the car inside was worth. A quick look on eBay nets you hundreds of the same thing. In fact, at the time of this filming, the most expensive Hot Wheels car attempting to be sold is an error car. No doubt it's a joke, as it's just an upside down blister. Anyway, I personally do not collect or buy any error cars. The reason is they're too simple to make, and make in a way that defies detection. This is not to say that there are not real errors out there. I have found a bunch straight out of the cases, and I'm not trying to say that people selling them are deceitful. I'm sure they found them the same way I did. What I am trying to say and show is that most of the errors out there are easy to counterfeit, and that you should take that into consideration before you buy them. As far as tampering goes, error cars fit into two categories: those that can be blister authenticated and those that are rivet authenticated. A car with a missing tampo still in the blister can only be blister authenticated. That's the only proof that the car has not been tampered with. As I'm sure all customizers know, and others can see, mainline Hot Wheels are easily removed from the blister using nothing more than acetone and a brush. Mainline Hot Wheels have no real blister authentication. That's not so for the hitch and tow in the upper left corner of your screen. This has great blister authentication because someone trying to tamper with the packaging is going to have a heck of a time trying to hide what he or she has done to get the car out. So with mainline Hot Wheels, this just leaves us with rivet authentication. An example of this type would be a car with wrong interior in it. This could be authenticated by checking the rivets for tampering. Rivet authentication is much better than blister authentication. However, as you will see, it can also be altered to some degree. I will say that if I did start collecting Hot Wheels errors, they would have to fall into the rivet authentication category for me to consider them. So let's get to looking at some counterfeit errors. What you're currently watching is a missing wheel error. This error is almost completely undetectable as long as you're patient with the blister removal. Once the car is out, you can simply cut the axle between the wheel and the body and then pull the axle out of the car. Pop the car back into the blister and use a hair dryer to heat the package and evaporate the residual acetone. The glue will reset, and if done correctly, no one could tell that the car was ever opened. Obviously, this is not a rivet authentication error, as the rivet need not be touched. It is only the packaging that makes this error work. If someone was trying to sell you a loose car with the wheels missing for $15 claiming it was an error, you would no doubt look at them funny. It needs the blister for you to believe that the car is legit. But we said before there is no blister authentication in mainline Hot Wheels, so you're pretty much just buying a $15 car with missing wheels. How about that missing tampo error we spoke about earlier? Well, it's a bit more difficult, but not by much. As customizers know, there are plenty of ways to get those tampos off. Some use nail polish remover. I use ELO from the craft store. Both will get the job done. Here I just removed the tampo from the passenger side, but I could have just as easily removed something else. If I wanted to go all out, I could have used those mini Q-tips they sell at the craft stores to remove select parts of the tampo. I also removed the tampos completely. I could have smeared it, distorted it, or any other combination. The point here is that tampering with tampos is easy. You should watch out when you buy them. How about an unchromed wheel error, like the one on this surf crate? It's the same as the tampo error, but much easier. Pull the car out and use ELO to remove the chrome. Pop it back in and sell it. Put your kid through college. If you don't want to be putting other people's kids through college, you might want to steer clear of this one. Hey, check this one out. A missing windshield error. How did this ever make it through Mattel's quality control? Looking at the regular car, it should have a blue windshield from the looks of it. Let's check out the rivets. Yeah, they look fine from here, from what I can tell. And hey, it's still in the blister too, right? Well, not really. So here's our first car that falls into the Rivet Authentication category. If I was going to counterfeit cars, I'd want to stay in this area. This is because these errors do not need the packaging for the error to work. If someone came up to you and tried to sell you a loose car with a missing windshield, you could simply turn the car over, check its rivets, and confirm that they are not tampered with, and then happily pay him for the car. If he tried to sell you the same error, but also sealed up in a blister, that even lends more credibility to the car being legit. So a counterfeiter gets a double whammy with this type of fake error, as the buyer has the extra layer of false security in the purchase. This windshield method works because the die cast in a car is many times more robust than the thin plastic used in the windshield. I will admit that I did leave two very small nicks in the paint producing this error. However, this is because I was trying to film and keep the car in frame at the same time. Given a second time to try and without a camera to contend with, I could easily get the windshield out without harming the car body. And if I can do it, so could someone who wants to cheat people. Up next is a very popular error, the oops, we put on the wrong wheel error. You might think this error is beyond the scope of what a counterfeiter could do. I mean, they would have to remove the rivets and change out the wheels, right? Well, no, not at all. This is a pretty simple hack. All you have to do is gnaw off one of the wheels that you want to replace. You can also just cut the axle if you like. You'll also need to remove the wheels from a donor car. Once you're ready, pull the original axle out of the car and then put the axle on top of the base and measure to the middle of the car. Then cut the axle just shy of the middle. Do the same with your donor axle. Now you can change out both wheels or just one. To put the car back together, we'll apply a small drop of super glue on the axle tip and then insert the axle back into the car, taking care not to get any of the glue on anything. Let it dry and then repeat for the other side. Be sure to keep the wheels moving so they're not glued to the axle. Once dry, you'll notice that the car rolls with no problem. This counterfeit can be detected by turning the axle. However, I'm going to take that into consideration when putting the car back together and make getting to that axle difficult. Plus, I'll make sure to put the car back into its blister. A blister that none of us would dare open, as it could remove some of the value from the car, right? There won't be any reason for you to take the car out anyway, as you'll clearly be able to see the wheels moving inside the blister. You'll also be able to see that the rivets are untouched through the blister. There will be nothing out of the ordinary. You could send this car through the boosters and through loops and curves if you so chose. It'll act just like a normal car. So that was just a few ways to counterfeit errors. You might be wondering if there's any mainline errors that are more of a safe bet. Well, the answer is yes. You may have noticed throughout the video that most of the errors are subtractive in nature. We're removing something from the car. The wheel change was the only additive error, since we added the wheels back to the car. Subtractive modifications tend to be easy. Additive changes are much harder. Keep this in mind when buying errors. A car with a missing windshield is easy. A car with a red windshield, when it should have a blue, is much more difficult. Getting a windshield out of a car is a bit of a task. Putting one back in would prove quite daunting. Anyway, hope this was informative, or at the very least entertaining. I'm not trying to discourage anyone from collecting mainline errors. By all means, collect what you like, but do so in the knowledge that some of them are very easy to reproduce. Anyway, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.